Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday, and welcome to another episode of Market Open with Ticker Symbol Live. Today, we're going to be talking about cash crashes and Cash App. So I figured since it's Thursday and since the market has been very kind to us, we can spend a little time talking about some of ARK's best stocks, as well as what we should be doing with our cash position. So this is my mic check. I will pause here, see if everyone's awake and alive out there. Happy Friday Eve. Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay? Let me know in the comments if the mic is sounding good and crispy, or if I should move it. We'll wait for a couple more minutes for people to pile in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Mic check, mic check. I'm going to dive into the data in the next couple of minutes here. Yep, all good. So a little delay in the comments there. I apologize. Let's go ahead and get started. So let's go right into the ARK reactor. So pretty green day for ARK Invest overall. Let me go ahead and maximize the screen so you can see it. I have the ARK reactor in order of ARK rank today. And as you can see, fairly green day across the board. So assets under management have increased slightly. And as a result, just buying into all of their positions a little bit. A couple of outsized buys in different stocks in ARKG. But overall, pretty much the status quo for ARK Invest today. They have over 150 positions currently. They're slowly adding back into new ones and into their cash positions as the bull market continues to broaden out, right? So if we take a look at our Kathy indicator here, what we're going to see is she is slowly starting to re-amass cash, right? ARKW jumping up one name, ARKG jumping down one name, but overall a very green day and lots of positions to start amassing that cash again. So one of the things that stood out to me this morning is that Square jumped up one spot in rank from rank 3 to rank 2. And that's probably just a result of price action, right? So we can see that they hold over $2 billion in Square and $2 billion in Teladoc, and they are neck and neck for that second position, obviously well behind their stake in Tesla. So what I figured we would do today is we would rip through Square's presentation, their investor relations report, and we would just figure out what's the deal with Square. Are they just a digital wallet, or are they a gateway to something more? Yesterday, we spent a lot of time talking about how Tesla was at the center of the convergence. And today I want to tackle that convergence from a very different angle. Instead of looking from the outside in, physical transport, transporting energy, changing the shape of the world around us, I want to focus on a big transformation that's happening in our pockets, and that is digital wallets. So what I'll do is I'll stop here for quick questions about the data. But again, pretty typical day for ARK Invest, nothing out of the ordinary. Assets under management going up a little bit. And as a result, they're buying a little bit of everything as people buy into all 5 of their funds. So let me call out some of the logistics stuff. Thought we were going to get started an hour earlier today, so people have time before the market opens. So that's starting next Monday. Next Monday, we're going to be moving to, let's see here. Whoops, not that one. We're moving to 8:30 a.m. Eastern instead of 9 Eastern. So we're moving half an hour earlier starting on Monday. The other things you should know is today is the last day that I will be streaming on both ticker symbol U and ticker symbol live. Ticker symbol U, again, is the channel for that vision first top-down approach where we take ARK's big ideas one by one, ARK's innovation platforms one by one, and we tear them down and figure out how they're going to be changing our future. Ticker symbol live is that bottom-up approach where we're, again, looking at market data, analyzing ARK stock picks and moves within their funds, and we're trying to cohere that with our top-down vision. So the two channels work together, bottom up and top down, to reaffirm our investment thesis or adapt to the changes in the market. So Thursday, that's today, is the last time I'll be streaming on both. And then the live streams will move to ticker symbol live. And then Friday, we'll have a live stream on ticker symbol live as usual. It will be at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. And then it'll move to 8:30 on Monday. And on ticker symbol U, in the evening, we'll come out with our weekly video as usual, right? So that should take care of all of the channel logistics. If you want to keep up to date with these daily live streams, the thing to do is subscribe to Ticker Symbol Live. As a reminder, while I'm throwing up banners everywhere, nothing I say on here is financial advice. We're just looking at data, and we're looking at some of ARK's biggest, best positions to see if we can spot how they are slowly but surely changing our future and innovating in the present, right? So that should take care of all of the channel logistics. And let me stop for comments related to that. Too confusing, put it all in one channel. I thought long and hard about this. The reason I don't do that is because one channel is trying to be very cinematic and very, coherent, edited, short, quick. And one is very stream of consciousness. It's a live stream, it's daily, it's noisy, and people are going to be putting on notification bells for two completely different things. The content is delivered in two completely different ways, and they just make sense as two completely different channels. They both focus on ARK Invest. They both feature me, but they both do it completely differently. So for now, two separate channels. Excellent. Roblox, now that ARK Invest is in, I would say that Roblox was a buy before ARK Invest was in. Now that they're in, the price is going to probably skyrocket, and you're probably a little late to the party, is my opinion. And the last question I'll take on this front is, what tool am I using? This is Tableau. This is a dashboard that I custom built in Tableau specifically to focus on ARK Invest data each and every day. So what it does is it holds daily data, and then it compares it to the day before that every day. And what we're doing is we're making a heat map that looks at their changes in share counts by day. We have a table that we can look at changes in all sorts of different metrics by day. And then we have a bar chart over here that just tracks their overall positions if you combine all 5 of their actively managed ETFs into one fund, which again, you can only do because Cathie Wood manages all 5, and they're all conviction weighted. So same fund manager and same weighting scheme is what I believe lets us do that. And as you can see, there's tons and tons of overlap among the funds, as shown by all of these bar charts, which have different colors for each fund. So for example, quick example, Square today. Square is held in ARK-K, ARK-W, and ARK-F. That's the General Innovation Fund, the Advanced Internet Fund, and the Financial Technology Fund, or the FinTech Fund. And they hold a little over $2.25 billion overall in Square. So that's going to be the focus today. My Tableau dashboard is not shared. I'm thinking about doing some sort of subscription to this so that people can play with the data. But the important thing I want to call out here is the data only makes sense in context, right? What I don't want to do is let the dashboard go loose and then let people just play with it, make their own uninformed investment decisions based on what they think the data are saying. But in reality, the big buys can be associated with big moves in assets under management and not necessarily a change in conviction. So that's what I like to do every day, is remind people, hey, this happened, I think, because of a change in conviction, versus this happened just because, hey, they have extra money in their inflows, and as a result, they're buying shares of everything. And let me just show you that real quick in the data, what I mean by that before we move on to Square. So if you look at this column right here, change in shares, and then I sort by that column, you're going to see something pretty interesting. You're going to see that if I scroll down here, a lot of shares move almost by exact the same amount. 0.2%, 0.15%, 0.0%, lots of 0.0s. And then we're slowly, lots of exactly 0.32s, lots of 0.41s, so on and so forth. Very much the same number we see over and over again, right? Here's at least 30 positions that have moved by exactly 0.57%, right? So what is that? Well, that's because people are buying shares of those funds, right? And those stocks are in more than one fund. And that's just the result of them needing to buy more shares of what's in those funds, because people are buying shares of ARK-K, ARK-W, ARK-G, so on and so forth. So those buys aren't related to changes in conviction. Those buys are just because people are buying shares of those ARK funds. And that kind of context, I think, is important to call out, because if the market is following what Cathie Wood is buying, then we should know or take a guess why she's buying those things. Great. So I think that's enough about the data. Again, today, pretty standard day, looking at yesterday's data. Nothing stands out to me as like, whoa, we're rushing in to talk about the stock. So I want to talk about Square, ARK Invest now second largest position, right? So let me unshare my screen here and let me share Square's investor relations deck. So hopefully what you're seeing here is Square's investor relations deck. I will maximize it just so you can see it bigger. Let me know if that's clear enough or not. Looking in the comments, I see nobody really has a problem with the screen quality. I could probably even do this, right? And let me know if the image is too small, and then I'll take my pretty face away and we can just focus on the investor presentation, right? So one of the things I want to call out is Square is not just a digital wallet, right? We know Square because of two things. We know Square because of the Square platform itself, and we know Square because of the Cash App digital wallet that lives in our pockets, right? But these two things play together in a very interesting way, right? It's more than just frictionless value transfer, easy peer-to-peer transactions. So the first thing I want to do is call out all of the different things that Square actually does inside one, two significant ecosystems that are part of one company, right? So on the Square side, they have that hardware, right? Those point of sale, things that kiosks and stores can use to accept your credit card, and the terminals they use to do their, cash register and basic accounting. All of that is available online. They have a developer platform because they're a software-enabled digital wallet. They do basic business banking and payroll, right? So they're offering a whole business finance management solution, including customer relationship, managed payments, team management, all the stuff we don't necessarily think about when we think of Square, the company that we're buying when we buy that stock, right? And just like, Microsoft is much more than Microsoft Teams, even though that's all people talked about lately because of Slack, Square is much more than Cash App, which is something that a lot of people focus on when they buy Square stock, right? They're like, oh, my experience with Square and Cash App is awesome, but they're missing an even bigger picture, right? So on the Cash App side, of course, we have the Cash Card, direct deposit, being able to deposit into the account and accept direct deposits from paychecks. Peer-to-peer payment, right? That's where you Cash App your buddy for your share of the bill. Cross-border, right? Bitcoin, 1% of all of Square's assets under management are currently in Bitcoin. And then you can buy stocks on Cash App, right? And then the last piece is this thing called Boost, which is like promotional payments, special financial offers, and other things that they can do to get things that they think are relevant to you in front of you and reward you for clicking them and all that kind of stuff. So promotions, visibility, think about all that stuff, right? And I think Boost and then this connection between these two ecosystems is something that's really important, right? Why? Because what they can do is partner with different, let me show you a different chart that I really like in this investor presentation, right? Let me just scroll down here. I will find it. It will obviously take me forever to find it because I'm on air. Here we go. So one of the things that Square can do as a digital first, software-enabled wallet that a bank has a lot of trouble doing is partnering with other platforms and companies to make novel ways of getting products in front of people. What do I mean by that? I mean that as a software-enabled wallet, they can partner with e-commerce platforms, they can partner with accounting platforms, and they can partner with specific companies. For example, Tesla ride hailing, for example, the Real Luxury Fashion, Phil's Coffee, Laser Away Health and Beauty, and so on. And they can promote those businesses inside their platform. Hey, here's 5% back for using this business, one of our partners, right? So now you have a digital wallet that's enabling e-commerce. Hey, here's $5 off your Starbucks order, which seems kind of normal. Yeah, sure, my bank does that today. But now it's happening directly through your app, being put directly in front of you, and the conversion rate goes way up because you're already inside your wallet, right? We don't really log into our bank accounts unless we're, already thinking of a transaction for our bank. But Square, pushes information to us constantly because we're not just there for banking. We're there for an entire financial ecosystem, right? We can do shopping inside of Square, for example, through their partners in e-commerce and all that, So instead of being a bank, they are becoming a gateway. And that's really important. And where that really shines to me is mixing that with crypto. So this isn't going to be a crypto focused talk, but imagine doing everything I just said, but getting rewarded in Bitcoin and knowing that you can spend it because inside the Cash App, they're partnered with tons of stores, tons of individual businesses, Tesla ride sharing in the future, and all that kind of stuff. And because they control both sides of that platform, right? They control the buy side through the consumer side, I should say, through Cash App, and the seller or vendor side through Square. Now you're comfortable saying, hey, I have this Bitcoin, but I know I can spend it anywhere with that except Square because it's staying inside that same ecosystem. So what Square is doing when they can transact in Bitcoin is they're lowering the friction or the barrier to entry and the barrier to spend cryptocurrency, which right now is a major source of friction, right? That's what the word friction means for Bitcoin. It's tough to acquire, store, and transact in Bitcoin if you don't currently do that, right? Once you get your digital wallet set up and you can do all these things, it becomes easier after the first time because you're like, okay, I'm in. I have this Bitcoin and I know how to spend it. I've done it before. But Square can start helping take care of some of that for you by you naturally spending cash and then rewarding you for doing that in Bitcoin. And now it's just part of your account. And they're doing all that storage, transaction, and logistics around managing your identity and the amount of Bitcoin tied to it and the digital wallet backend and all that stuff, because they're already storing and thinking about Bitcoin and they're already transacting between consumers and producers through their two ecosystems, right? So the thing I want to call out about Square is just this powerful network effect and this powerful gateway effect of getting customers in and then offering them tons of stuff to do in their platform so that they inject money into the platform via direct deposit, points of sale, payroll, whatever. And then that money just lives inside the ecosystem. There's never any need to take money out of the Square ecosystem. It's just changing hands and forms as it goes through these two flywheels, right? As they add more partners, as they add more methods of spending, for example, Bitcoin, stocks, right? Like these two things on the bottom right here. And as they add more mechanisms for storing and saving, right? You have way less need to ever take your money out of Cash App or Square if you're on the vendor side, right? So this is why I believe this is ARK Invest's second biggest position. And of course, we can talk about, the fact that Square has something like 50 times less employees than Chase Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and the same number of active monthly accounts. Like that blows my mind, right? The way Chase scales is by, building a great big building in the best part of town and then marketing to people to say, come in, we're a financial center, we're here to serve you, right? But buildings are expensive, marketing is expensive, physical paper marketing is expensive. What does Square do? Square flips the script entirely and says, we're going to do viral online only marketing. We're not building any physical branches. We're a digital wallet. And the way they scale is when you download their app, right? Two fundamentally different cost curves, physical real estate versus digitally native, lives on your phone wallet. And because you can't really have a software defined building, right? That doesn't really translate well into introducing new partnerships and all that, right? It's not like Bank of America or Chase are building new stores inside their bank to serve customers in different ways. Whereas Cash App and Square, because they're software defined, all they do is they open their API, let developers build on it, and let new forms of transactions happen inside their app. It's a fundamentally different shift. And I'm going to be focusing on this over and over on Ticker Symbol Live, right? That shift between the thing that's being disrupted and the internet-enabled, data-driven version of that thing that's disrupting it and causing a larger total addressable market and, causing this big shift in the way we do things. Yesterday, it was about the way we transport and travel. Today, it's about the way we transact and bank, right? But the transition is the same, moving from that thing to the internet-enabled version of that thing, right? So Is Square the only company doing well in the fintech space? Absolutely not. So PayPal owns Venmo, right? Ticker symbol PYPL. They're one of ARK's biggest holdings as well. And then obviously you have Amazon and Amazon Pay, Alibaba and Alipay, Apple and Apple Pay, Google and Google Pay, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on when it comes to digital wallets, because big software companies see the writing on the wall. Commerce is becoming e-commerce. Banking is becoming e-banking, right? And you don't want to be a brick and mortar house when you can be an online digitally native wallet, right? So we're moving away from banks and moving toward smart wallets, right? Great question. Do you think Square will limit political considerations, limit people for political considerations like Twitter? I actually don't want to comment on stuff like that. How companies handle PR is super important, but well outside the scope of their technology. I think Square is becoming a social platform. I think there's room for social commerce and social e-commerce, right? So how they handle the social side of commerce is really up to them, just like how Twitter handles the social side of politics is really up to them, right? They're both Jack Dorsey companies. He's definitely got his own convictions, and I'm not here to comment on his worldview one way or the other. How did I forget about PayPal? Yeah, people forget that Venmo, right, the biggest competitor to Cash App, Venmo, is owned by PayPal. And this is really important too. PayPal was an Elon Musk company, right? All roads lead back to Elon. It's really funny to think about that, but Elon got his start through PayPal, right? So when we think about Cash App versus Venmo, we're thinking about Jack Dorsey, who's a big fan of Elon, by the way, fulfilling PayPal's vision through Square, while PayPal continues to chug along as PayPal, right? Both of them are great solutions. I personally use PayPal. I absolutely love Cash App as well, but Venmo, super great finance app. I almost said Cash App. And then Cash App, literally the Cash App, in my opinion, is owned by Square, right? So those are the two big players in the US. And then you have Alipay and then WeChat Pay and all that kind of stuff, right? I can only manage to invest in one ARK ETF. Which one is the best option? They're all good. They all depend on your different vision of the future, right? Some focus on autonomy, like ARKQ. Some focus on finance, ARKF. Some focus on healthcare, ARKG. Some focus on advanced internet, ARKW. And if you can't choose, ARKK is kind of like the best of all worlds, right? The highest conviction picks from the other four make their way into ARKK. And then ARKX, ARK's upcoming fund themed around space exploration debuts, I believe, later this month, end of March 2021. I see lots of questions. Do I think Square will have Ethereum as an option? Great question. I think this is just, it depends if institutions are going to be moving more broadly into crypto or more narrowly into Bitcoin, right? Kathy Wood recently gave a great talk, and I put out a video about it, about the $500,000 Bitcoin, which involves institutions, and big companies putting 10% of their balance sheets into Bitcoin, right? Diversifying from just cash to cash plus Bitcoin. And if they do that, because they're holding a lot of Bitcoin and because there's a finite amount of Bitcoins, Bitcoin will go up in price, right? Increased demand, fixed supply means higher cost per unit, right? We know that Jack Dorsey is a huge, huge fan of Bitcoin. So I wouldn't be surprised if he bought more Bitcoin. Tesla, 8% of their balance sheets or something is currently in Bitcoin, right? Because they just bought $1.5 billion of it. So the adoption of Bitcoin is going to happen at an increasing and maybe even alarming rate. People aren't used to that volatility, but the volatility of Bitcoin is a feature, not a bug, right? Because it's driven by demand. When people demand more Bitcoin, the price goes up. When people don't demand as much Bitcoin, the price goes down. That's how Bitcoin works, because Bitcoin is a finite supply of a transactable store of value. Lots of great questions. If you invest in ARKF, are you already invested in Bitcoin? No, you are not. So ARK has GBTC, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, in ARKW. It's the second biggest position in ARKW. And what you're exposed to is the price action of Bitcoin. You don't hold literal Bitcoin. you hold dollars that are tied to the price movement of Bitcoin, right? It's an important distinction. So you need to have a crypto wallet or a digital wallet. If you Google how to buy Bitcoin, it's very different than how you would just buy into the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, ticker symbol GBTC. Lots and lots of great questions. Yes, 8% of Tesla's cash is currently in Bitcoin. And that number is obviously fluctuating, A, as Tesla grows, and B, as Bitcoin's price changes, 10 times in the last second, which again is just a feature of how Bitcoin works, not a bug or something we need to be worried about. So I just want to talk about Cash App for a little bit more, and then I'll let everybody go. The thing that I really want to focus on here is when you think of a digital wallet, you should realize that it's part of a larger ecosystem, right? However you're holding cash, you need to understand that you're part of this broader picture that's changing in finance. Cash App and Venmo, they make money off of you transacting, right? They make money by being a financial service. So when they capture money into their ecosystems and money doesn't leave that ecosystem, they're making money on people's money over and over and over again as their ecosystem grows. And they can do things like put in really smooth promotions to get you to spend that money. They can lower good rates. They can, increase all sorts of interesting benefits to you because they're software enabled. And the reason they can do that is because they don't have these giant, big buildings in the best part of town. They're not doing physical mailing. They're not increasing what's called their customer acquisition costs because they can acquire a new customer for so cheap. Boop, download that app, right? And they don't need to make all these, maintain all these expensive buildings. They can offload those savings to their customers while maintaining an increased profit, right? We'll talk about that more in the ticker symbol U video coming out tomorrow. But one thing I really want to stick out in your head is when you move away from brick and mortar banks specifically, because unlike just regular stores and malls and all that stuff, think about how big and beautiful and luxurious and unbelievably gorgeous the average bank building is, and realize that that is a cost, right? Banks pay to maintain those buildings, and Cash App simply does not have that on their balance sheet, right? So I think that Cash App and Venmo and Alipay and all these other software enabled wallets are in prime position to disrupt big banks. I'm not saying that's happening tomorrow. I'm not saying that big banks can't adapt, but I'm saying there's a huge difference between owning 5, 10,000 gigantic buildings in every major city and starting from not owning them and building from the software layer up instead of from brick and mortar up. So I'll stop here. I will answer a few last questions, and then I will let you go for Market Open. Since many companies are into digital wallets, will the sector get too crowded and decrease Square's revenue? Nope. I think this is a big enough space where multiple people and multiple ecosystems can thrive. People who are big fans of the Apple ecosystem, for example, Apple Pay is probably going to be a natural fit. Same with Google and Google Pay, and same with Cash App versus Venmo, right? We see both of them are thriving in that space, and around the world, we have Alipay, WeChat Pay, and so on. And this is a common theme that we'll see in this channel a lot. It's not a winner-take-all market. It's a winners, plural, take most market, right? So like Tesla versus NIO is another great example. Tesla's not going to beat NIO out, right? Like Tesla might do better than NIO, but the Chinese EV market is big enough for both of those players. And if you're holding number one and number two, you're not going to be really worse off for it, right? Especially since they're two very different companies doing things in very different ways. Apple and Square are very different companies, right? One builds physical devices, right? The iPhone, the iPad, the iPod anymore, if that's a thing. But the MacBook and so on, and has a digital wallet. One is a finance company that has a digital wallet as its main product and builds point of sale terminals for vendors. Couldn't be more different. Just because they have a little overlap in that space does not mean that one is going to beat the other, and holding one means holding the other is a bad idea. That's not how the stock market works. And one of the things I hope to do throughout this podcast and throughout this series is remind people that the stock market isn't about picking the winner. It's about picking the winners, plural, right? Tesla is an outsized winner, but there will be other competitors in that space. Square is an outsized winner, but there will be other competitors in that space. Apple is an outsized winner, but there are other competitors in that space. Will or are digital wallets into home mortgages? Yep. They're going to be into big secured and unsecured loans for sure, car loans, house loans, etc. Financial services will form the core of the way they take down banks, right? When you can have a mortgage that's approved in, several hours instead of several weeks, fundamental shift in the mortgage game, right? And we're seeing that with business loans, right? It takes 60 to 90 days to get a business loan today through a bank. Through an AI-driven digital wallet, it takes as little as 7 minutes. Imagine the difference, 60 to 90 days to 6 to 9 minutes for a much better, much more tailored, much more accurate, much more personalized business loan, right? Is there an estimate projection calculator to predict prices of ARK funds 10, 20 years from now? No, and if it was, it would be off by tens to thousands of percents, right? The thing about exponential curves is they're very hard to predict early, right? A little shift early on is a huge shift later. That's just nature of the beast when it comes to exponents. So I strongly discourage thinking about price and start thinking about change, right? The changes that these things are having on our future, and then forming your investment thesis around that from the top down. That's the focus of ticker symbol U. Ticker symbol Live is meant to reinforce that through data, right? Hey, look at all these outsized winners and how they are changing the world in alignment with our vision, right? And that's super important. And that's exactly why ARK Invest maintains 2 websites. And that's why I decided to maintain 2 channels, right? ARK Invest is ticker symbol U, and arkfunds.com is ticker symbol Live, right? They work together, just like ARK has 2 sites that work together, but they are fundamentally approaching the same thing from 2 opposite ends. I'll take one more question. We're already over 30 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. And then we'll get out of here. I own all of Kathy's funds because I believe in Kathy Wood's vision, but I also own Berkshire B as a counter. That's fine. We can't predict the future, right? I'm not saying Kathy Wood has 1000% accuracy. I'm certainly not saying she has a crystal ball. I'm not saying everything I will say on the channel will pan out as a result, so on and so forth. But I believe when it comes to software, artificial intelligence, deep learning, and a few other key things that are enabling such dramatic shifts in the 21st century, I think the writing is on the wall. I think you can already see that physical stores are hurting, physical banks are hurting, physical utilities are hurting, physical, non-digitally enabled automobiles are hurting. Those are things you can see today. They're not things you have to wait till tomorrow to find out. I appreciate this donation just because the name is Simple Logic, right? And that's what we're using here. We're using simple logic. We're using our eyeballs to look at these determinations. Ticker symbol U, one more time, is a vision-focused channel, right? Ticker symbol Live is a logic eyeball channel. We're using our vision today, right? We're using our eyeballs today to reflect on our vision of tomorrow. And that's how those 2 channels stay together and play together, right? So I appreciate the donation. Thank you. And one last thing I'll do is I'll call out the logistics, right? So starting tomorrow, I'm only going to be live streaming on ticker symbol Live, unless it's a very special occasion, right? On Friday, I'll do that's tomorrow. That's the live stream daily on ticker symbol Live, and the weekly video will show up on ticker symbol U. Hint, hint, it's going to be on Square, right? That's why I'm talking about it today, to give you that bottom-up view today, and then I'll give you the top-down view of it tomorrow, right? Starting next week, this live stream will move a half hour earlier from 9 a.m. Eastern to 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And that's just so you have more time before market open, as it got called out in the comments in this and in the comments in previous live streams. I'm just going to keep it clean for this week so everyone knows what to expect. And then next week, we'll start half an hour earlier and rock on from there. And then the last thing I'll say is comment below. Tell me what you like about these live streams, don't like about these live streams, how often they should be, weekly, bi-weekly, once a week, once a day. I want to make sure that these are providing more value to you and not just noise, right? I'm not here to collect views or whatever. I'm here to make sure that we're staying informed on ARK Invest daily trades and their 5-year vision into the future, that they're course correcting day by day as the market continues to move, right? One is about managing your ship in a big ocean. That's the vision. The other is about correcting your sails for the wind as it changes in real time. That's the daily trades. Those things work together to get that ship wherever it's going in the future. I hope that analogy helps like really form a vision in your head of why there needs to be these two channels, right? I'll take some final questions and then we'll wrap up. Thanks for your content, Elon and Kathy. They have the world's smartest podcast. They have a really good episode of the podcast where Elon Musk and Kathy Wood and Tasha Keeney are on there talking. And I encourage you to listen to that one. That's a really good one. So I think that's really worth everyone's time because they really align on their vision, right? I like these live streams every day. I'm super pumped to hear that. I love doing them every day. Good stuff. Thanks. I see a lot of people starting to go. So we'll just call it right there. Thank you for your time. This is Ticker Symbol Live. My name is Alex, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in you. Thanks for watching.